Okay, good morning guys. This is John, AE5X. It is currently almost 9 o'clock in the morning in Houston, so the sun is up and 630 meters is asleep until sunset. No activity, but I wanted to go over the monitor sensors transverter anyway and answer a few of the questions, hopefully, that a couple of people emailed me yesterday asking primarily about the functionality of it. As you can see in the screenshot, I've got the flex set to 160 meters on 1804.2, which in a moment, as soon as I turn on the transverter, will translate to 474.2 kilohertz. And I'm set up to use digital modes. I'm not going to do that, but in the daytime there's no one to talk to. Anyway, everything is set for 160 meter digital. There are no signals on the flex panel because right now there's no antenna essentially connected to the transceiver. With the transverter off, I'm in bypass, and I'm on my tri-bander, which isn't going to show any activity on a 160 meter receiver. But as soon as I turn on the transverter, two things will happen. I'll start converting the 630 meter input to a 160 meter output, and the noise level will go up on the flex waterfall and pan adapter display. And I'll also switch to the antenna, the Marconi T antenna that I'm using for 630 meters. So let's do that and watch what happens. I'll go through the menus here, and I've got separate menus for receive and separate for transmit or display screens, I guess I should say. Anyway, I'm receiving now, and I can also transmit on the flex or any transceiver that you have that covers 160, and you're automatically transmitting on 630 meters with an amplified output. So let's look at the receive screens. The first one that comes up just shows me what the window is, that I am in fact on 630 meters, and what the frequencies are for that band, a 7 kilohertz range. Turning the knob to the right, I get basically the same information, just presented a bit differently. And one more to the right, I get my supply voltage and current that the transverter is consuming in receive mode, and the heat sink temperature, which is very handy. And then if I continue turning the knob, I'll just scroll back around to where I was. But here I've got the option to push the knob for a menu, and I can change various parameters like screen brightness, color balance. The Vox I've got set to fast. I've got fast, slow, or medium. And I put it on fast because I was using CW, and also it's sufficient. It's a sufficient setting for the digital modes as well. Receive attenuation, I don't have any dialed in. I can either dial it in manually, or it will add attenuation automatically if I overdrive the transverter with too much of an input. And I can put in my call sign, which was already done by Roger, VK4YB, before he sent this to me. Okay, and I'm back to the receive menus and looking at the temperature. Now then, I'm going to go to transmit on the flex, and we'll see what menus are available in that mode. I'm going to be transmitting at 3 watts on 160 meters. Here we go. You'll hear the relay in the transverter. Okay, 3 watts in, or roughly 3, we'll see in a minute what that is exactly, is giving me about 41 watts output, and the SWR of the antenna is 1.34 to 1. And I like being able to see that real time, because normal SWR meters for HF rigs and outboard tuners and things like that, they're not accurate on this frequency, on this band. So it's good to have that. Okay, 40 watts out for 3 watts in. Actually 2.75 watts in. I'm saying 3 because that's what I've got the flex set for, but any 100 watt transceiver is not going to provide, an absolutely accurate representation out of what you dial into it. So we've got that here. And this is where I would see attenuation added if I were overdriving the transverter with, I think 15 watts is where attenuation starts to kick in. And then with too much of an input, the transverter will go into bypass mode altogether. But at this low power, I don't need any attenuation. Okay, the heatsink temperature and the frequency that I'm outputting is here. And the temperature is going up because we are transmitting with 40 watts. And you hear a fan, maybe, I don't know if the microphone's picking that up, but at 45C, a fan came on low speed. And I think it will go to a higher speed at 50. And yes, it did. And I'm now requiring 7 amps. And the output is 38 watts. Again, that's with 2.8 watts in. All right, let me go to receive for a minute. You'll see the temperature come back down now that I'm not transmitting. And while that's cooling down a bit, I'm going to bump up the output from the flex to 5 watts. And let's see what that does to our output from the transverter. Okay, here we go. Input is 4.6. Output is 54 watts. And using a bit more current, obviously. And heatsink is going up. Heatsink temperature is going up. So anyway, that's it. That's it's a very simple installation. It took less than 5 minutes. Just put it in series with the rig and the antenna, attach a power line to it and a push to talk line, and you don't even really need the push to talk. That's explained in the manual, but I've added it anyway. If you don't use that cable, it will sense the RF coming into it when you go to transmit, and it'll switch to the transmit mode. But push to talk, I guess, with a cable just makes that a bit more of a certainty. That cable was included with the transverter. Anyway, that's it. That's how it works. It's very simple. Last night I had no problem making contacts on JT9. I called CQ on CW a few times and didn't get any answer because there was no one there. I think on the weekend there will be more activity. Let me just go to CW on the flex for a minute and demonstrate the TR changeover. Okay, I'm on CW. Okay, so that'll give you an idea of the speed of the changeover when the Vox is set to fast, which I think is appropriate for CW and digital, and I don't anticipate operating phone on 630, so I'll probably just leave it set to fast. And anyway, that's it. It's a great piece of equipment. I love it. I really like it a lot. It's almost seamless. I mean, without it on CW, I do have QSK with the Flex, and also you would with a K3 and 10-Tech rigs and everything else out there. But for what you do and the type of activity on 630 meters, it's not necessary. And giving up QSK is it's just a non-issue for that type of operating. So this is the simplest way of being able to transceive on 630 meters. I won't say it's inexpensive, but it is the easiest way of doing it. Anyway, 73s, and hope to see you on the band.